Lawbreeze and Gentlegrams, Lil Wayne and Drizzy Defamation Drake are cutting out the fake friends in the industry. Now, Lil Wayne is my GOAT, but I gotta keep things 100% crystal clear with you guys. I honestly think Lil Wayne inspired Drake to evolve into his final form as Drizzy Defamation Champagne Petition Poppy. Because, first of all, obviously, if you guys didn't know, if it wasn't for Lil Wayne, Drake would be breakdancing on the street corners of Toronto begging for change. Lil Wayne signed Drake, he put him on. He was at the height of his career, selling 1 million copies first week with the Carter 3. And at the pinnacle of his time in the spotlight, he transferred his superstardom powers onto his Champagne Petition Poppy protege, and Drake took the ball and ran with it. But before Drake became a courthouse Karen, crying over Kendrick, clobbering and crushing him, calling him a cultural cosplayer, a sexy red stunt double, a spiraling sexy red stunt double, a liposuction young lady loving lawsuit filing lunatic. Yeah, before all that, Lil Wayne was actually the one threatening lawsuits and filing them himself. Many people forget the fact that Lil Wayne, Drake's mentor, had a lawsuit against UMG way before Drake ever thought of suing Lucien Grange, his rich baby daddy.
Drake has a rich baby daddy named Lucien and Universal.
Wow.
He's like, man, my daddy got it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, my daddy controlled the spins. My daddy got the DSPs. My daddy. Drake has a rich baby daddy named Lucien.
Lil Wayne sued Birdman and Cash Money over unpaid royalties. That lawsuit was then transferred to the parent company, UMG. They ended up settling, and Lil Wayne was finally able to release his long-anticipated album, The Carter 5. But throughout that drama, Birdman found another protege in Young Thug, and Young Thug was going to name his debut album The Carter 6. But Lil Wayne said, nah. You, my friend, will be faced with a lawsuit if you do that. So Young Thug changed the title to The Barter 6. And ever since then, I guess Drizzy Defamation Drake learned an important lesson in that if your rap friends are making you go boo-hoo, all you gotta do is sue. But I say all that to say, it seems like Lil Wayne and Drake are sticking by each other's side, tighter than Akademiks sticks to a Henny bottle and a Big Mac. Both of them separately are saying, we don't need anyone in this industry. Drake is on tour right now dissing all the fragile Opps, and Lil Wayne is making it clear that it doesn't matter if the Super Bowl is in his hometown, he is staying farther away from that than Akademiks stays from a treadmill. He wants no parts. Now we're gonna break down all the crying that Drake has done on stage during his tour in Australia. Kendrick said him and Cole were hugging and kissing on stage. Now Drake is crying and dissing on stage. But let's touch on Lil Wayne first, because Weezy has a special announcement. He let it be known that he will not be at the Super Bowl in his hometown of New Orleans.
Y'all know I'm not gonna be there this week, which means I guess there's a seat to fill.
Now, he's saying that they're going to have a seat to fill, but this is a part of what feels like a long history of Lil Wayne delusionally thinking that he was owed the Super Bowl halftime show. Again, Lil Wayne is my GOAT. I would have loved to see a Super Bowl halftime show from Weezy, but it's been kind of whack seeing him refuse to accept the fact that this is Kendrick's time. Kendrick in 2025 deserved this a lot more than any other rapper, and Wayne's been crying about it. We're going to touch on that later in this video. But instead of finally just accepting it, he's instead had to let us know that they'll have to find someone else to keep his seat warm, and that instead of performing at the Super Bowl, which was not promised to him, he's instead going to be making a very special announcement on Thursday, February 6th.
Shout out to New Orleans, but I've been working on something very special. I got something exciting coming for you. Thursday, the 6th. Till then, I'm just chilling.
Now, remember how Wayne 10 years ago was about to sue Young Thug for taking the album title The Carter 6? Well, I think this announcement on February 6th is going to be that The Carter 6 by Lil Wayne is actually going to drop very soon. And I'm excited for this. The Carter series is one of the most legendary album runs we've seen from a rapper in history. I've actually been working on the side on a breakdown of The Carter 3, everything leading up to it, what it meant for Lil Wayne's legacy. So drop a comment if you want that breakdown. I can't say I'm not a little nervous for this album though. Like, Lil Wayne has been killing his features for years, but as far as a solo album, I don't think we've heard a decent one from Lil Wayne since 2018. And while his presence might not be as felt today as it once was, he actually has been more active than ever. Aside from the multiple features, we've got many different projects from Wayne in the 2020s decade that frankly just came and went. He had a collab album with 2 Chainz, a collab album with Ricch the Kid. He had No Ceilings 3 Part 1 and 2. He had his 2020 album Funeral. He re-released his classic mixtape Sorry for the Wait onto streaming platforms, and and added like 4 or 5 new songs. He even gave us a project full of what seems like the Carter 6 leftovers called The Fix Before the 6. So that's like 6-7 projects in less than 5 years, but somehow it still feels like we haven't got a real Wayne album in ages, which kind of speaks to the quality of the music, right? If you're a Wayne fan, you remember Sorry for the Wait, you remember The Drought 3, you remember No Ceilings, you remember Dedication 2, you even remember the more lackluster albums like Rebirth and I'm Not a Human Being. But these recent projects kind of just came and went, which is why it feels like Wayne has been inactive even though he hasn't been. It speaks to the quality of the music. Wayne, along with Kanye, is the most influential rapper of this generation. Everyone has taken something from Lil Wayne, whether it's the Odd Future Tyler the Creator camp, even the TDE camp. We're going to touch on how, Lil Wayne's not just my GOAT, he's also Kendrick Lamar's GOAT. He brought us the pop star rappers, Nicki Minaj, Drake, Tyga. He birthed the mumble rappers. There would be no Lil Uzi, Young Thug, Carti, Gunna, Migos. None of these guys would exist without Lil Wayne. And we see with Kanye, who has actually put out less music than Wayne over the last, 5 to 7 years, but his music and just him in general is much more talked about than Lil Wayne. And I think that's because Lil Wayne is not giving us a Kid See Ghost or a Donda or even a Vultures 1. I mean, when was the last time you heard an actual Lil Wayne hit? So for him to be crying about not getting the Super Bowl halftime show when we've been getting the type of projects we've been getting from Wayne, I think that's why people think Wayne is kind of delusional, thinking he was owed that Super Bowl slot. But it seems like Wayne has finally kind of understood that. I mean, again, this trailer he put out kind of comes across as, very passive aggressive, but just a month ago, he kind of cleared up all his issues with Kendrick Lamar and justified him not getting the Super Bowl slot by saying that, in essence, he didn't deserve it yet.
They're choosing not to ask you.
I give you my general answer and then I give you the personal answer. So generally, I just believe that, for whatever reason, I believe that it's over my head. I don't know why, period. Obviously, I believe that it's perfect, but I do not know why. But personally, the person I am, I straight look at it like, you ain't there, you gotta get there. You gotta get there. You know how we skip, you know how we rock. You gotta have it.
Come on, man.
Now, he does chalk it up to politics as well. He's not putting all the blame on his lackluster bodies of work from the last few years.
I mean, you're the GOAT, and it's New Orleans. It just makes no sense to me. I don't get it. Their politics played. I don't know.
That's another part of it. I think there's things that I can't control or involved in it. So it is what it is.
And really, this whole thing about, Wayne being upset that he wasn't chosen to be the Super Bowl halftime performer, it didn't start with Wayne directly. It started with the people around Wayne. Jay-Z and his Rock Nation label teamed up with the NFL in 2020 to pick the halftime performers. Many people thought that decision to pick Kendrick was all in Jay-Z's hands, and it was basically to spite Drake, Wayne's protege. Birdman started doing his hand rub and got on Twitter, calling out anyone messing with YMCMB. Nicki Minaj went directly at Jay-Z and Beyonce on Twitter, saying this was all a big plot to sabotage Drake, and in the process, they were really just hurting Wayne. Wayne, a couple days later, drops a video looking like he was crying harder than Drake was after he heard Not Like Us.
That hurt a lot. You know what I'm talking about? It hurt a whole lot. I blame myself for not being mentally prepared for a letdown. And for just automatically mentally putting myself in that position like somebody told me that was my position. It made me feel like not getting this opportunity. And when I felt like you guys reminded me that I ain't without y'all. And that's an amazing reality.
Then Kendrick drops GNX and says, used to bump the Carter 3, I wore my Rolly chain proud. The irony, I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down. And I mean, he really did let Lil Wayne down, because all the way in December, months after this whole situation happened, Lil Wayne said he still felt messed up about it.
Are you better with it now than you were when it first hit?
No.
You seem better, because I know at first you were pretty torn up about it. As you should have been. Talking to people that matter, talking to people that care about me, they telling me things that, telling me the truth, telling me the facts, and dealing with living, accepting the facts, embracing the facts, and moving on. Okay.
But again, like I said before, it did seem like Lil Wayne realized, okay, maybe I wasn't picked for the Super Bowl because I haven't been putting out the best music that really deserves to be performed on a stage that big. So I got to look within and try to improve so that maybe I could be a lock for Super Bowl performances in the future.
You're saying you got to get better to earn the right to be on that stage?
This is what I told myself. I told Mac, I told Faye, but this is what I told him. I said, you know what?
Your managers, yeah.
So, you know what I said? I want to get to the point where I'm undeniable. Yeah, I want them to walk in there and have 10 other choices, and whoever's in charge say, no.
Okay,
no,
I love that.
You have to go with him.
I thought you were undeniable right here, right now, but that's just
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
But the weirdest part about this whole thing is that after Kendrick rapped that, you know, he kind of let Lil Wayne down, Lil Wayne somehow took that as a diss, and the day that GNX came out, Lil Wayne tweeted saying, man, what the F I do? I just be chilling and they still come from my head. Let's not mistake kindness for weakness. Let this giant sleep, I beg you all. No one really wants destruction, not even me, but I shall destroy if disturbed. On me, love. Tough words to a guy who just knocked the Canadian Fruity Pebbles out of Wayne's protege. But the weird part was that when Wayne was asked about, you know, what he thought of these Kendrick lyrics and if they ever kind of chopped it up to clarify things, Wayne acted like he never even heard the lyrics.
Explain this part to me, because I don't know the backstory of this, but what Kendrick Lamar, you know, what his lyrics were about you. What can you explain? I'll just quickly read them. I know you know them. I used to bump that Carter 3. Okay. I used to bump that Carter 3. I held my Rolly chain proud. Irony, I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down, from Kendrick Lamar.
I mean, look at the look on his face. That is like how Akademiks looks at a salad. Like, he's never seen that in his life. It seems like Wayne has never heard these lyrics in his life. And he emphasizes that, even though he sent out the tweet seemingly in response to these Kendrick bars, he emphasizes that this was his first time ever hearing them.
From Kendrick Lamar. Let Lil Wayne down. And I don't really understand that. Help me out. What was that about?
That was my first time hearing it, but
off his first time hearing these bars, it seems like Lil Wayne did have a good understanding of what Kendrick meant. So it's very weird that he tweeted out as if he was ready for war, but when he's asked about it in an interview, he's very respectful about it, even saying he's a fan of Kendrick.
You know, I think he's a fan, like I'm a fan of his music. Sure. He's a fan of mine. Yeah. I think
he's definitely a fan of yours.
Yeah, you know, so I think he just mean by, he saw how much it meant to me. And I think that's all he mean. And, you know, when we speak, and obviously he can't control that. And, you know, so he didn't let me know. It ain't like he can control it or nothing.
And he understands that when Kendrick said, you know, my hard work let Lil Wayne down, he just means like Lil Wayne was let down in terms of he was very sad that he couldn't perform at the Super Bowl.
Did he say anything to enlighten you about these lyrics about you? I think my hard work let Lil Wayne down.
No, you know, he didn't have to do anything. There was no explanation that was needed for that. I think I understand. Again, that was my first time hearing it when you just said it.
Okay.
But I understand those words. Like I said, I think he just mean that he made it there, and his hard work is the reason why he made it there. Obviously,
I took
let
it
me down is me just being upset about not getting that. So that's fine.
And surprisingly, Drake probably didn't like this, but Wayne said that him and Kendrick actually spoke.
And also, I've spoken to him and I wished him all the best and told him he better kill it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you better kill it. You gotta kill it.
And Wayne was confident that Kendrick will kill the Super Bowl, but that Wayne will not be in the country to see it.
I told him he gotta smash it.
Well, he will smash it. I'm sure
yes,
he will.
Of course he will.
So is there any way last second that you would be asked to make a little appearance with him on stage?
I'm not going to even be in the country.
Okay, all right. Okay, I appreciate that. I actually love that and endorse that. I think that would be exactly what you should do.
And I guess that's what he was kind of implying with this new clip that he put out, in that basically he won't be in New Orleans to see the Super Bowl. Maybe this means that, you know, since he won't be in the country, he might possibly be in Australia joining Drake on this tour. Or maybe it's a Carter 6 announcement. He did say the Carter 6 would be coming 100% in 2025. So I just think he's got to remember what this series really means and to treat it and approach it in the highest standard like he did with the Carter 2, the Carter 3. Like, I hope he didn't take the criticism of the 6 before the 6 lightly and he really gives us something better than that. I've always said Wayne needs like an executive producer or an A&R or like one producer like a Swizz Beatz, a Timbaland, a Alchemist, Tyler the Creator, someone to lock in with, someone who understands Wayne's strong points and can deliver, you know, production and beats that are perfectly suited for Wayne to just go off on, and let Wayne focus on the bars and they take care of everything else. Kind of like what Nas did with Hit Boy, because Lil Wayne is still an amazing rapper, but something has happened to his voice where it sounds super high pitched, chipmunky kind of. The auto-tune doesn't work well for him like it used to. And I don't know what it is. It's like he forgot how to make hooks. Like I haven't heard a great Wayne hook, like an undeniably outstanding Wayne hook, since the 2016 song From Adam with The Game. That's an incredible song. But even with his last hit I could remember, Uproar with Swizz Beatz, he said that Swizz Beatz took one of his verses and just made that the hook because there were so many quotables in the verses. He needs someone like that, someone who could understand his strong points, deliver him beats that are perfect for just like straight spitting, let Wayne go off and then kind of like adjust it and edit it to be more presentable. I would love to be Lil Wayne's A&R if you guys couldn't tell. But aside from that, the last thing I'll say about the Super Bowl is that TMZ actually reported today that Kendrick Lamar will 100% perform Not Like Us on the Super Bowl stage. They said, "There's no doubt Kendrick is doing this song. Our sources connected to him all confirm that. But the lawyers have to decide whether to broadcast the lyrics and risk a potential lawsuit." We all know how Drizzy gets, man. He's going to be rubbing his hands like Birdman all the way out in Australia, having his ghostwriters draft him up a lawsuit the second he hears "Say Drake, I Hear You Like I'm Young." But Drake hasn't just been crashing out in the courthouse. He's been on this Australia tour, and it seems like it's been going well. Big crowds, no openers, just Drake hugging and kissing on stage. But Drake does not look happy, man. I mean, what a year it's been for him, right? It wasn't even 12 months ago that Kendrick said F the big three, is just big me, and who knew what that would have started. Ever since then, you had Rick Ross diss him, The Weeknd dissed him, A$AP Rocky dissed him, JPEG Mafia dissed him, Childish Gambino dissed him. Kendrick does a concert, brings all of LA out. Drake calls everyone who attended that concert his fragile ops. He starts beefing with basketball players like DeMar DeRozan or LeBron, slowly works his way up the rankings and stops beefing with rappers and starts beefing with corporations. He files petitions against Spotify, iHeartMedia, UMG. The Grammys go against him. You see UMG's CEO high-fiving Dr. Dre as Kendrick wins a Grammy for Not Like Us. Not Like Us becomes not the most awarded hip-hop song of all time at the Grammys, but I believe the second most awarded song of all time in Grammys history. Drake executive produced the show Euphoria that airs on HBO. Even HBO was dissing Drake on Twitter. The NFL was having Not Like Us in commercials in preparation of the Super Bowl. The Grammys played the first verse of that song while Kendrick went up to receive an award for it, and the entire crowd chanted A minor. Kanye said it himself, like, this is almost a calculated plan for eliminating Drake from the industry. Kendrick, I believe, just doesn't like Drake and what he stands for within the culture, but when you rack up this many enemies, it's something bigger. You pissed off a lot of people. And Drake himself looks pissed, man. He's walking out on stage, bullet holes in his sweater, smoke coming out of his shirt. He thinks he's 50 Cent on Ozempic. The whole vibe is just dark. Like, I saw Drake live in concert in 2023. It was all smiles. He was making motivational speeches during the concert. Now it's like everything just seems like an emphasis on, I'm solo right now. I don't have any friends in this industry. F everybody, but I'm not going nowhere. He's on stage dissing LeBron. The original lyrics were, how do I go from 6 to 23 like I'm LeBron? Now it's how I go from 6 to 23 but not LeBron. But I think the funniest fragile op that Drake created has been DJ Khaled. Ever since this 20v1 kicked off, I've been thinking like, it's going to be dry out here for DJ Khaled, right? His biggest hit maker was Drake. Like, if you guys are unfamiliar, DJ Khaled's main job is essentially going to different artists and being like, okay, give me your throwaway songs and let me put them on my own album. Like Metro Boomin, he collects a bunch of different artists, but he'll actually produce the beats. He'll make smooth transitions. He'll really, utilize these artists in calculated ways. Khaled just kind of gets throwaway songs and slaps his voice on them. And sometimes they'll hit. With Drake, everything he touches has been a hit. So a lot of times he'll give Khaled these throwaway songs, they'll still become hits. Because of that, Khaled has become Drake's biggest glazer. I mean, his whole catchphrase for a year was, I like what Drake like.
And I like what Drake like.
Morning. What would you like for breakfast?
I like what Drake like. I like, find out what he likes for breakfast. I like what Drake likes. I like what Drake like. I like what Drake like. I like what Drake like. I like. Yo, Drake, look what I just got.
Let me see.
You know, Drake got that watch. I like what Drake like. Baby, let me take you to Keiko's.
You want to go to Noah's Ark, right?
I want to go where Drake goes.
Noah's Ark.
Wherever Drake goes, I want to go. I like what Drake likes. So, where does Drake go again? I want to go where Drake goes. Is this where Drake goes? I want to go where Drake goes. Is this where Drake goes?
But Mr. I Like Drake's pipe has been awfully quiet since this whole beef started, because if you guys didn't know, DJ Khaled and Rick Ross were cool way before Drake was even a rapper, when he was in diapers on Degrassi. Drake and Rick Ross started beefing around the same time as Kendrick. Rick Ross claims it's because Drake sent a cease and desist letter to stop a French Montana song from dropping that had both a Rick Ross and Drake verse on it. So Khaled's kind of stuck in the crossfires, right? Drake is beefing with Rick Ross. Khaled needs Drake for the hits, but he also came in the game with Rick Ross, so he's kind of in this weird position. You would think they'd be able to separate their own issues, right? Drake's beefs are his beefs. DJ Khaled doesn't need to inherit them. Just because he likes what Drake likes, does that mean he has to not like the people that Drake does not like? It seems like Drake thinks so, because DJ Khaled for a long time now has been promoting his new album by saying that there's going to be 2 Drake songs on it. Way back in 2023, DJ Khaled actually walked Drake out at one of his concerts and held up a sign that said, "I have 2 Drake songs coming." And this was a year and a half ago, right? I guess he had to delay the whole project due to the fact that, he had to find his footing in the whole Rap Avengers Civil War. And it seemed like he kind of picked his side, because he dropped this expensive album trailer. It looked like a freaking movie. He had to spend at least, 20, 30 grand just on this trailer alone. And the whole purpose of it is basically everyone's trying to hunt DJ Khaled for his new album, and everyone's asking him like, "Oh, this is the one with the 2 Drakes?" And he's holding it like it's this sacred thing, like these 2 Drake features are sacred. At the end of it, you hear a little snippet of one of the Drake songs. But the funniest part is that Drake comes out, comments on the trailer saying, "You must be talking about Drake Bell," with the silent emoji, with the no face emoji, the no lips emoji, no duck lips. He's telling Khaled like, "You thought I was feeling you? You're a munch. Yo, this Gerber an absolute waste, you cruddy." So it's like you'd think this has to be a troll, right? Because why the hell would DJ Khaled create this whole expensive album trailer all centered around the fact that this sacred album has 2 Drake features, all for him to not even ask Drake beforehand and be like, "Yo, I'm confirming, like, we're cool, right? Like, yeah, I know I like Rick Ross, you don't like Rick Ross, and I like what you like, but I need these 2 Drake features." But no, he really dropped this trailer without even telling Drake, like, "Yo, heads up, I'm still going along with releasing these songs." Drake was like, nah. You release those songs, and I'll release a lawsuit on your head top. The publishing didn't clear. The most DJ Khaled will get, the closest he'll get to Drake, is Drake Bell. End of an era, man. The fact that we're never going to get more Drake and Future records, Drake and Rick Ross records, and now Drake and Khaled records? We're stuck with Drake and Sexy Red records. That's what we're getting, all 2025. And aside from Khaled glazing Drake, throughout all the years, and after all that glazing, Drake finally telling him like, "Nah, I'm done giving you these stimmies. We're through." Akademiks claims that this desperate relationship that Khaled has had with Drake has actually dated back a long time. Allegedly, way back in 2017, they put out a song together called To The Max. Akademiks claims that that song was something Drake didn't want to put out at the time. This is around the time he's doing all the Island songs. He just dropped Views. He's about to drop More Life, or he did drop More Life. He's giving us the Passion Fruits, the One Dances, and this song, To The Max, is more of like a Jersey Club type song. And Drake didn't want to release it, and rightfully so. It was a very, mediocre song. You could tell this was a throwaway. And when you're dropping hit after hit, you kind of want to be a little calculated and careful with the music you release, because if you start dropping flops, people are going to look at you like you lost the sauce, especially with a guy like Drake, who's all about the optics, about the numbers. I just did a video on this, depending on when I post this, probably like 24 hours ago, where I emphasized that Drake can't pull a Kanye West and go against the machine and go independent, because he needs the machine. His whole brand is about the numbers, the optics. He's not a trendsetter like Kanye. He's a formula follower. And because of that, he makes very formulaic hit records, pop records, but they need that push from the giant corporations to get playlisted, be splattered all over streaming platforms, be splattered all over TikTok, etc. That's a tangent. You guys could check that video out. It's the most recent video I dropped. But I say all that to say, with the Khaled record, it made sense. Drake didn't want to drop it, right? It wasn't a great record, and Drake was already on this run of dropping hit after hit. So if you drop something that's a flop, it looks bad for the optics. Khaled begged him. He's like, "Yo, I need a record for my album, a Drake record. I need it." Drake said no 55 times, until finally he pulled a ruthless move and said, "You know what? You want this record so bad? Take it. I'm taking 95% of the publishing of this song." Meaning Drake took 95% of the profits of whatever that song generated. Now, granted, Drake was probably right. He should have trusted his intuition, because that song ended up flopping. But isn't that crazy to put into perspective? Like, DJ Khaled essentially goes to Drake for all these hits to boost his own career, but it's not like he could tour, right? He's not an actual DJ. He's not a producer. He doesn't rap or anything like that. So it's like, what? He can go on tour and make money off that, but what's he going to tour? What's he going to play? He's just going to play other people's songs that he shouts over? He needs to profit off of his albums and off these hit songs. But you have guys like Drake who are taking 95% of the profits. So where does a Khaled actually make money from music directly? He probably has sponsorships on Instagram, on Snapchat, all that. But like, how is his music profitable if artists like Drake are taking 95% of it? And that just kind of shows the whole dynamic of their relationship from the beginning, in that Drake fans want to make it seem like, you know, he's this generous guy for the culture, you know, putting on younger artists, giving them stimulus packages, doing features when he doesn't have to. But at the end of the day, all these different features that he does with artists who are small at the time that he's featuring with them, yeah, gives them a big look. But at the same time, the song gets released on Drake's OVO label. He takes 95% of the profits, according to Akademiks, on at least that one DJ Khaled record. I'm assuming he does something very similar for most of the other records he puts out. You gotta ask, is it really helping the smaller artists, or is it really helping Drake? Just hilarious though. He said, no more features for you, Khaled. That's it. Bro put Khaled on timeout. But as far as who Drake is collaborating with, we know that on Valentine's Day, he has an album dropping with Party Next Door. Now, Akademiks just did a stream with Wack 100, and they kind of alluded to the fact that there might be a Kendrick and SZA album coming on that same day, or that Kendrick is determined to stomp on whatever Drake is doing. We haven't really seen that, right? Like, Kendrick went up and got all those Grammys for Not Like Us. He didn't make any real reference to Drake aside from wearing a Canadian tuxedo on stage. On GNX, he kind of seems to be, you know, essentially saying like, it used to be F that guy, but now it's plural, as in like, this isn't just about Drake anymore. It's bigger than that. So I don't know if I can necessarily see Kendrick playing this cat and mouse game of back and forth. I see him definitely doing a victory lap, but I don't know if he's trying to stomp on Drake's releases and Drake's momentum as much as Drake has been trying to stomp on Kendrick's. If you've been paying attention, every big move Kendrick makes, Drake tries to do something to overshadow it. Kendrick does the pop-out concert, Drake drops 100 gigs, a bunch of songs where he's sneak dissing Kendrick. Kendrick announces the Super Bowl, Drake announces this Australia tour that starts right when the Super Bowl starts. Kendrick puts out GNX, Drake in the same week drops the petition against Spotify and UMG, which actually made GNX receive a boost in its sales. Then Kendrick sweeps at the Grammys, and of course the next day Drake has to announce this album with Party Next Door. He's constantly trying to stomp on whatever Kendrick's doing. I wonder if Kendrick's going to do the same. But allegedly, according to Akademiks, Drake and Party Next Door's album that's dropping, because of Drake's legal battles with his label, it's actually not going to be dropping on Drake's label, UMG. It's going to be dropping on the OVO label, which is under either Warner or Sony. And it's going to be, allegedly, according to Akademiks, released as a Party Next Door album featuring Drake. That way, the label can't say, UMG can't say, that Drake is dropping music in a way that breaches the terms of their contract. Because if it said, this is a Drake album, when he's contracted under UMG to drop albums, it goes against the contract. So this is a way to bypass it. And funny enough, when Lil Wayne was going through his lawsuits with Cash Money and UMG, he did the same thing with 2 Chainz. They dropped an album called Collygrove. It was really a collab album between the two, but it was released through 2 Chainz' label, and every song just said featuring Lil Wayne. This was a way for Lil Wayne to release music without having to do it through his label, since he couldn't do it through his label because he was suing them. Maybe Drake is doing the same. He also announced on tour that aside from this Party Next Door album, he's also going to be dropping a solo album.
I got a new album coming out on Valentine's Day with Party Next Door. It's called Some Sexy Songs for You. And you know, eventually when the time is right, Drizzy Drake alone by himself is gonna have to have a one-on-one talk to y'all. When the time is right, I'll be back with another album, a one-on-one conversation with y'all that you need to hear.
And I think this is interesting, right? This is what we all obviously want to hear from Drake. A one-on-one conversation, I guess, as he puts it, where he's really talking to us and letting us know how he feels about this whole battle, explaining where he's at with everyone, why he made the moves he made, where he feels like his place is within hip-hop after this whole beef went down. And I've been saying this for a while. Like, I think this is exactly what Drake needs. He needs to forget everyone else, make an album with no features, show everyone that you could do this on your own, the singing and the rapping, you could do it both. Get 40 and Boy Wonder in the studio, cook up that classic Toronto-sounding Drake production, and just give the people what they've been missing from you for so long. Give them that Nothing Was the Same, Take Care Drake, where you're actually getting vulnerable, you're actually breaking down things that are going on in your personal life, instead of all this mob boss, mob-tied, knife talk BS that we've been getting from you for so long. If Drake really wants to make a comeback, he doesn't need the industry. I think he's trying to show that with this Australia tour in that, like, look, I could go global and overseas and still have a bunch of fans. I don't need an opener for my tour. I could do it all on my own. But what Kendrick said on that third verse of Not Like Us is, you know, you run to Atlanta when you need those dollars. You run to these different sounds, these different cultures, and appropriate them to fit them into your own sound and use them as kind of like infinity stones to just simply level you up. The fact that you're able to incorporate Atlanta trap production or their lingo into your music, or that Caribbean sound into your music, or the Weeknd sound into your music, or McConan, or Blockboy JB with the Take Keith production. Show us that you could still go back to, you know, doing what you did when you first came in the game that everyone loved you for initially, which was just kind of really being yourself. Maybe he's ready to do that. He's definitely ready to cut everyone off, including his label, and he's going out guns blazing. I don't think people realize the magnitude of putting out a lawsuit like this against the biggest corporation in the music industry. They're not going to make it easy for Drake to succeed, and him cutting off not just the record label, but all his allies within music, it leaves him in an interesting position. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.